Welcome. My name is Corey Lear, and I am the host of the Senior Podcast Show. Today, we are here to talk about a very special person, Paul Burkhardt. Many of you know Paul from the Senior Movers, the Senior Companies, the Senior Network, all of these amazing companies that he has been the founder of and the creator of. But I think many of you don't know the side that we get to see of Paul. And you have a very interesting story, Paul. I'm very glad that you decided to be able to share that story with our audience. So congratulations and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Corey. I'm glad we're having a chance to finally do this. It's been thought about in my mind for a very long time. We've talked about it quite a bit, and the schedules don't always line up. And so I'm glad we're here and able to have a chance to do this. The main purpose for me for so many years to want to do this is I'll be 51 years old or young, depending on how you want to say it, later this month. My life's been a pretty unique story, and my whole life is dedicated basically to helping people. It has been for the majority of my entire life, and now it is on day-to-day helping folks through our business, through our team, and helping people follow and accomplish their goals and dreams. And so I just wanted everyone to be able to see this side of me. Not many people know a lot of what we're about to share today. And Corey, I think, is going to have some surprise questions for me too that I don't even know are coming. So, you know, this is, it's been a humbling life experience, and I'm so blessed for the opportunity to have a platform like this to do it and a great host like Corey. So Corey, take it away.
Yeah, I think it's amazing that you decided to do this because so many people, especially with social media these days, they only get to see a glimpse of it, right? So they might see something and say, well, look at, there's been no struggles. Sometimes people don't really get to see that. And a lot of the time, which you and I have talked a lot about behind the scenes too, is we don't always want to share. But the more that you and I talked and our team talked, we thought that it was really important to be able to share that experience because not only can I relate personally, I think our audience will be able to relate, maybe not to everything, but to certain things. Sure. So I'd like to start off, please, at the beginning, right? How was your childhood? How did you get that entrepreneur spirit?
So I grew up in Detroit, and I'm one of three children of Edward and Lena Burkhardt. The youngest of three. I have an older brother named Mike. My sister's name was Lisa. She passed away when she was 3 weeks old. And then I was not really going to happen after the tragic loss of Lisa, but I did. And so it was my brother and I with my mom and dad growing up in Detroit, had a wonderful, wonderful upbringing. Two wonderful, loving parents, a very large family. My mom, one of 12. Second youngest. My father had very, very little family, so it was mostly my mom's, but 28, 29 first cousins plus myself.
Her side made up for
it.
Yeah,
a lot of families had 4, 5, 6 children. My brother and I are, I think, the only one, well, it was 3, but besides Lisa, it was only a family or 2 that had 2, and the other ones that had children was 3 or more and a few 6s. So the entrepreneurial spirit, my parents always had me basically at the front of the class. I was a reader in church. I was a reader in gym assembly. Always encouraged to be one of the people that participated in class. And so I think that really helped me at a young age. A lot different than what things are today, right behind a screen.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah, we were I was front and center in front of teachers and in front of other people, always into sports, always working to be a captain on the team and trying to lead. My parents always expected the best out of me. They wanted the best for me. I didn't always listen. Full disclosure there. I sure didn't. But I tried. And so I was just very, very, very blessed with a wonderful upbringing. Had a lot of great friends, went to a great school. It was tight back in Detroit at that day. You know, you'd ride your bike to your friend's house. We were always outside playing, much different than what it is today. Video games didn't come until much, much later. Digital technology, there was no internet when we grew up. So we were very focused on our friends, on our family, and had a lot of fun doing that. So my parents always pushed us to be leaders and not followers. And so being taught, I guess, and having that inbred into us at a very, very young age, it was always in my, the entrepreneurial spirit was always in my mind and in my heart, so much to the fact that I opened my first business at 13 and a half, auto detailing cars, and I did it for 15 years. My dad would actually drive me to clients' houses with my vacuum and my bins worth of equipment and supplies and such, and I'd do my job for, at that time, the total consistency of a job, the way I did it was 2.5, 3 hours, and I'd go in the house, I'd call my dad, he'd come back and pick me up, and it never stopped until many, many, many years later. And so it started young. And then I went and worked at Penna's restaurant at 14 years old, and basically never stopped working since. So it started young.
At 13, I understand kind of doing your own business and that, but to work at a restaurant at 14, that's so young.
Probably the greatest decision my parents ever made was to get us to start that young and to get us to start in the restaurant business, hospitality, right? Ironically, we do that today. Even though I'm an entrepreneur and owner, we're in the hospitality business. We're in the service business.
That's right.
And so a restaurant teaches you how to interact with people, how to interact with services, how to interact with money. You learn the business side of it. You learn how to communicate. And so it helped me in so many different angles. In fact, hiring today, I like to always look at someone that has a lengthy restaurant background. In fact, Jonathan on our team here has a hospitality degree and worked in the restaurant business. So glad I had the opportunity to do that. If I had to do it all over again, I'd probably do the same thing. And if I had any children, which I don't, I would encourage the same thing. So I'm glad that I had the chance to do that.
I think working in the restaurant industry definitely teaches you a lot of those skills. So from there, how did you decide to sort of take those next steps? I mean, in that, obviously you were doing the two different jobs. Obviously 14 is starting to get into high school, freshman year. You played a lot of basketball. I think that had
Big part of my life.
That teaches you some more discipline, some more leadership skills, and working as a team. Obviously that's really important, but I do want to sort of talk about also what happened during that high school period that you have, because that was a pivotal time in your life.
Yeah. So until the more recent years, I would say the best, most fun years of my life was through elementary school. When I got into high school, things got a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
And the reason that they did, it became very traumatic. In 1987, my father was diagnosed with cancer of the parotid gland. And that was a fight and a little bit of a lengthy one. And we thought that he had beat it. And I think that spanned over about a year. So we thought we were in the clear, but it threw me off as a youngster. That's a serious thing, and you don't quite understand it, but you know that something is very, very off and very different. And so, you kind of go back to living your life the way you thought you should, and then it creeped back in, and this time it was in the pancreas. And anybody who knows about that dreaded disease and in the pancreas area, it was inoperable then, and much to the same today it is. So he went through a very hard-fought battle. The man, he's a huge inspiration for me to this day, and the way he fought and the example that he left for us, I carry that with me to this day, the way that he fought. He was a big man with the kindest heart, loved and revered and remembered until this day, not just by our family, but by so many people. And he passed away in 1989, 3 weeks after my homecoming in my junior year. So he had a chance to see me do my first homecoming. I didn't go to homecoming or prom as a freshman or junior. He was very ill, but he had a chance to see that. It was actually 10 days later. 10 days later, he passed away. And so I was 17 at the time by then. Maybe he passed in October of 89. My birthday's in June, so I was 17 and almost a half. And life was forever altered from that moment. You learn really quick how life can be challenging and how, it was my brother then, myself, and my mom devastated. Lost my sister Lisa at 3 weeks, and then lost the love of her life. They had just recently celebrated their 23-year anniversary at the time, I believe, which was celebrated earlier that year, the year of his death. And so high school years were pretty messed up.
I would say that's rough.
I think that's the kindest way I can put it.
Even for people who don't have such a traumatic experience, they're not always the best years. And then too, like you said, when we're young in adolescence, we don't fully grasp the gravity of the situation, right? And so we said, oh yeah, he's sick, he might not feel good, but then you keep, I don't want to say partying, but then you keep involved in the extracurriculars and all the things you may not spend all the time that you would have
Sure.
had you been older.
Yeah.
Even if you, I mean, your brother's 5 years older than you.
5.5, yeah.
So for him, even just being 19 at that time, and then obviously as, you know, your dad passed away a couple
he was
years later.
22 and a half,
right,
yeah, when he
exactly. He
passed.
was a little older. So even by then, he probably understood the gravity of that a little bit more. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I can't imagine, right? The first thing to go is your participation in school.
Yeah, I
So your
obviously
grades probably
stopped-
weren't great.
Yeah, I stopped sports, obviously. You know, my brother became much the father figure of the family. He was the oldest, and my dad asked him to watch out for my mom and for me when he knew that it was terminal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you just focus on your mom, your brother, your family,
Yep.
the trauma of it all. It spun me out of control in a lot of ways. I did not graduate high school on time. I actually got, believe it or not, my GED first from going to summer school and night school to make it up. So I got the GED first, but I wanted a diploma, and I wanted it at that time. And so I had to go back to school, and not many people know this, folks. So this is just really coming out up front here. I went back to January. So you start your schooling in the first semester. Took me through January. I had to go with the class behind me to actually get my diploma. So I actually have a GED and a diploma. So my high school years were not a whole lot of fun, and a lot of drama and trauma. And you know, it was just a whole new way of life that had to be learned. Everything else came second. And you know, just go through this snaking through life
Learning
and
all
trying to
different
find
new
out.
traditions.
Yeah, I
everything's
didn't make the best choices. I got behind in certain areas and kind of lost my way and lost myself. And so, you know, ironically, in 1993, so my dad passed away in '89. My brother actually got married in '93. And also in 1993, still doing the detailing at the time, I was introduced to the Lucido family. And at that time, they had a jewelry store on 15 Mile in Dodge Park. And I cleaned the vehicle for Joe Lucido, one of the brothers and owners. One thing led to another. I cleaned the car, returned it. They called me to the office and they said, "Would you ever consider being in the jewelry industry?" And I was actually dirty, you know, I had wax all over me. I just was kind of struck by it. They're like, you know, he wanted to pay me, said, "Come on inside, I'll get you a check," or whatever it was. "Well, why don't you sit down?" And it was like, in the fire, you were right there. "Would you consider this?" And I said, "You know, as a matter of fact, I think I would." And ironically enough, that introduction and that relationship started there. And I started my journey in the jewelry industry for 23 years. And I would say this to today, one of the men that I love the most, one of the people that I love the most in my life is Vince Lucido, Joe's brother. I love Joe too. Vince had a very special mentorship role in my life at a very, very sensitive time in my life.
Right.
And he gave me that opportunity when I didn't quite know my way, and I really took to it. I enjoyed it, and it was like my degree. Jewelry became my high school, my college that I never went to, my degree. I didn't get certified, you know, with the Gemological Institute of America or anything, but the sheer experience that I had for an up-and-comer jeweler that started in '87, and now if you search them or Google them, they have many stores and are extremely successful and have expanded quite a bit. I was a small part of that in the early years, but as a matter of fact, I messaged
small part
Vince.
for them maybe, but a big part for you in your
yes,
heart.
they were a big part. And
Yeah.
I actually was messaging with Vince yesterday, and we were laughing about a few of the old times. So that was a huge part of my life, and I think that was probably a beginning of a real healing process. Though later on in life, and we'll get to that in a few, more curveballs came. But that was a big moment for me, and one that I reflect on fondly 30 years later.
Well, I think, like you said, you know, losing your dad, and obviously your brother's older, but if your brother got married at that time, obviously his focus is something else, right? His focus is his new family that he, you know, married into, and you were able and blessed to be able to find a mentor in someone else, right? Someone who's going to pour their knowledge into you, and like you said, that's a very big family, so you had lots of, you know, strong male figures to sort of help guide you through that time.
Yes, no question about it. It was a blessing in disguise. First with the Penna family in the restaurant, George and Sandy and Tony, and then Vince and Joe and Mr. Lucido, may he rest in peace, much the same. It was a handoff from one to the other, and they were father figures. George Penna and Sandy were Sandy Polidori were huge father figures of mine at even a younger age through my dad's sickness before I even got to Lucido's.
So you learned some knowledge in the jewelry industry, and then you were able to take it and build your own business from that.
Yes, in 2001 or so, maybe beginning of 2002, I left Lucido's to open up my own store and ended up over on 21 in Garfield on the east side. Had a couple of partners and built a variable of what they were doing. It wasn't a direct competition. I didn't want to do that. And built a very successful following in the fine sterling silver and stainless steel jewelry industry. And we were pretty much the largest family-owned provider of just silver and steel in the Midwest. And so that went on for about 5 or 6 years on into 06 and 07. Which brings us to another point in time.
An interesting time.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: you feel like you're on a more successful path. You've got this business going, and then all of a sudden, your mom's health.
Yeah. So it's 17 years, almost to the day. My father passed away when I was 17, and now my mother was diagnosed with the same dreaded disease, and basically fought. Very, very hard for a year. Started with breast cancer and it went to bone and brain. And at that time, I was 34. My brother was a part of the process, but he was in his own home with his own family. I was still living at home with mom. And so I became her primary caregiver. And so what happened was I relived through my whole father's experience, but through a different lens as an older guy now. 17, my brother was the older figure in the house. 34, I was the only figure in the house.
Right.
And was never able to break through and move on and move out while she was living. And so I was still there and, would physically carry her up to bed and, was with her for doctor's appointments and medical power of attorney and all of those things, and a lot of help from my brother as well. And that happened in 2006, in the midst of the jewelry business, and I really lost my way at that point in time.
Well,
went through it all over again.
I
had never addressed it the first time properly, and then I rehashed and I relived it, and it's like, what is going on here? And I lost a lot of other people in between from the same disease, and so I got very bitter, very angry with life. In a selfish way, right? I guess I just didn't know any better, and you grieve and you go through depression and you go through all that trauma again. And it's just, it was this cyclical or this cycle that just it seemed like it was never ending. And so that was 2006.
Say grief is really hard. And here sometimes we think we're over it or we think we've made it through it for the most part. And then and it's so much more than just watching her go through that.
Right.
When you live there and you are the primary caregiver, there's no break.
Sure.
That's 100% on you. And so there's a lot of pressure on yourself too, because we love our parents, we love our family. We want to make sure that we're doing right by them, that we're doing everything that we can, right? And sometimes it doesn't matter how long it's been, it's still painful and it still hurts.
Yeah. And so I had, friends and family that, you try to help you through the process, but I was very, very alone at the time. And so the depression, the grief, the sadness, the anxiety, is this ever going to go right? You lose your way to a degree, at least I did. And you're searching for answers and they just don't seem to be there. And no matter sometimes how much someone tries to help, I guess you have
Sometimes you just cut yourself off from other people.
Yeah, and a lot of that did happen. You ride that wave, you ride through it, and you try to get through it. And so, a lot of fear developed at that point in time in my life. Fear of everything, fear of nothing going right, fear of failure. What if it happens to me? Because you start to think that both your parents had it. They were smokers. I smoked for 21 years. I didn't quit until 4 or 5 years after my mom passed away. And then I finally woke up one day and I'm like, all right, so all the odds are stacked against you already. Why improve those odds against you? Try to fight those odds. And I was able to finally quit, and we'll get further along in a minute. But in 2006, that was what it was. And I totally lost soul. Lost my spunk, my desire, you question your own mortality. You question, do you want to continue? There's a lot of things that go through your mind. And then in 2009, I was walking at Stony Creek bike path, got about less than a quarter of a mile, and a person that I was with, I just said, my legs are killing me, my arms are killing me, my neck is killing me. I don't know if I've ever felt this way. I don't even feel like I can stand up. And so we left and we went home, and you just think you had a bad day.
Yeah.
Maybe you pulled muscles, or you're just stressed, or I don't know what I thought. I certainly didn't think it would end up the way that it did. And so a couple of weeks go by, and I'm losing 5 pounds, I'm losing 10 pounds. And so here comes the fear. So what is happening to me now? I've watched it happen to my mom or my dad. I've watched it happen to my mom. I've watched it happen to a lot of friends. And now I'm not trying to lose weight, and I'm losing 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds without trying. And so finally, at the urging of a couple of my aunts who I was at breakfast with, and they watched me eat not even a quarter of my plate, and I explained to them, and they, along with my mom throughout the years, this was her sisters, they were kind of the doctors of the family. And they're like, Paul, something's wrong, and you need to go get checked. And so I went and got checked, and I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which, if our viewers don't know, it's a form of hyperthyroidism. So your body is overactive. Your body is an incinerator. Anything you eat, it doesn't even get digested. You're just burning 24 hours a day. Yep. You're at the gym, you're running a marathon. And so couldn't keep any of the weight on. And there's a whole bunch of side effects that come with that, as the thyroid is such an integral part of your body. It controls all your hormones, your metabolism. It's like the temperature gauge of your body. And so, diagnosed with Graves' disease, and it was pretty difficult. And then the hard-headed person that I used to be, I did not care for myself properly. They gave me medicine. I took the medicine, but I was enjoying, and this is sad to say, but I'm going to admit it, I enjoyed losing the weight. I was 259 and a half pounds when it started. And I started to go to obviously 250, 240, 220, 200, 190, 180. I got all the way down to 170 and a half.
That's almost 100-pound weight loss.
And it was an unhealthy drop,
Absolutely.
Right? It's not like there were some parts of it, I guess I was doing better than others, but it was just, my body was just depleting away. And so warning after warning after warning, Paul, you cannot mess with this. You need to take this medicine. Tapazole is designed to be taken to help the thyroid heal and take it in the short term. If it does not heal, then you go through an iodine process where it obliterates the thyroid and just dissolves it basically. And then you take medicine and you go into a hypo state, and you trick your body into thinking that there's a thyroid there by taking Synthroid. And so I never got to that point. And so should we skip ahead to 2016? Or maybe we'll go through...
Maybe when really gets crazy?
Yeah, through some of the coaching and such first?
Yeah, we can. I do think it's interesting that you sort of ignored some of those symptoms for so long.
I did.
And I think I do think it's important that people sort of understand your mindset at that time, right? It's still just a couple of years later after your mom passed, still trying to figure out all those things. This happens to you, and sometimes that is our reaction, right? This is good, but I still have so many things going on. I can't focus on my health, right? I'm still trying to put all these things into my business and be successful. And what do we always do? Just like what caregivers do, right? They put their own health and their mental health and their physical health on the back burner.
One of the best ways I could describe it, I used to hear this a lot from my mentors. I didn't want to hear it, but I was an unaccountable individual.
Really?
I lacked accountability for my actions, and I lacked accountability for, obviously, my health. I was not accountable for my health. Mm-hmm. I wasn't taking care of myself. And if I can't take care of myself and or love myself, then I certainly can't be the best I can for anyone else. Doesn't matter who it is, whether that's a girlfriend, a wife, a friend, brother, colleague, whatever. So I was an unaccountable individual that was just kind of spiraling. It was a lot of it, some cards were dealt that, you don't have a choice, but
That's
others
true.
I had a choice and made a lot of the wrong ones. And I caused a lot of hardship on myself in life.
That's true. But I do think it's important that people understand during that time when all of these things were happening, you were coaching.
Yes.
You were coaching kids. So although you're not taking care of yourself, here you are, right? Pouring into adolescent kids. Third grade and up?
Yeah, most of the focus was middle schoolers on up into high school, but and I coached for 8 years, organized teams. Started in rec basketball, and then into St. John's Greek Orthodox in Sterling Heights. Then on over to St. Anne's, which was a old grade school rival of the school I went to, Assumption Grotto. And then I went and coached at my alma mater, Warren Woods Tower High School. I coached the freshman team. Throughout those years, I had 4 camps, very successful. The last one of which was in 2015 before I got very sick. I had 109 kids. It was an independent company, Hoop Stars Academy. I had no school backing. It was all done on my own. And I had Tim McCormick, former first-round draft pick, played at the University of Michigan, drafted, I believe, by the Houston Rockets. He's an ESPN analyst, former Fox Sports analyst, now Bally Sports analyst. I bugged him, and I bugged him a lot. He spoke at camps. And
that I believe.
And, yeah, you think? And I was able to get a first-round draft pick to come out and speak to our camp, and I was just overjoyed with that, to be able to do that. And I remember meeting Tim in the hallway, and he took a peek in the gym, and he says, wow. He says, you really have something going here. This is not standard or customary. And he came in and he spoke for half an hour, and he was an inspiration. And I still watch his 30-minute speech to the kids to this day, and it helps me in my day. And so, yes, that was a major part of my life. And to be honest, so we're talking 2011 that started. That makes me basically about 30 years old. About 30. Oh, I'm sorry, 40 years old. I'm losing count here.
I think it's so important to mention
38, 39 years old.
When you were young, fresh out of high school, you mentioned the Cetos and how important it was for you to have a mentor to help get you started, right? And so now when we fast forward to, the 2010, 2011, and you are very, very sick.
Yes.
And yet you're mentoring the kids, you understand the importance of having someone who is so prominent in the sports industry come and talk to them, right? To lift them up and motivate them. Yeah. And then that just goes to show like how you can never judge a book by its cover, right? They probably looked at you and think, again, got it all going, got everything figured out, and inside the opposite is true.
I was suffering a lot, and I would leave practice a lot of nights, and I would just be so sore because it attacks your muscles. When you don't treat it correctly, the thyroid just runs havoc on your body. But I would also say at the same time that empowered me. It gave me inspiration. To have a young man most of the time for 2 hours under your purview with his teammates, and you have a plan, and you have a goal, and you have a mission, and you work for it every day, and you have a chance to build that camaraderie, and you're teaching the student athlete first and foremost, but you are also coaching an individual in a sport that is competitively kept score in. And I think you know me pretty well. When I set out to do something, I don't like to go for second or third place. So we were going for it all the time. And fortunately, throughout those years, 99 wins, we had 7 championships, the pinnacle of which was in 2014. We were 25-4, and we went to what you would consider the CYO state finals, played down at Catholic Central, which is now in Novi, used to be elsewhere, but now in Novi, against the mighty UAD Jesuit, who was 25-0 at the time. And ironically, I scheduled I scheduled a scrimmage game with them much earlier in the season, about the halfway point. Non-league, doesn't count. This is to hone your skills, right? And I wanted them to face the Giants, the team that was favored to be there at the end. And I knew what our goal was. I wanted to be there at the end. We wanted to be there at the end. And so I wanted to get a good look at these guys halfway through the season. Had a good feeling we probably wouldn't do well. We didn't. We got blown out. And that fear that we talk about, and that if you've seen some of my videos, I talk about fear is really the most deadly disease in our lives, in my opinion. Our kids were filled with massive fear going in. And then when we got whooped, and we got whooped by like 22 points, they were beaten. They were beaten down. And so we dedicated the second half of the season to get to the finals, which is the only opportunity we would have to play them again. If they ran the table and they went to the finals and we ran the table, they are in the one bracket, we are in the other bracket. That's exactly what happened. And so
so you were able to teach them to turn it around.
So we did very well from that point in time, and we went to the finals against them. We were down by 19 points at half, again, shell shock, deer in headlights, the whole nine. and we made a massive comeback that is on tape. It was actually televised with broadcasters and everything. I still have that today and watch it every once in a while. We came back 2 points down with 50 seconds. We came up a little bit short, lost by 4.
Oh my goodness.
But it was the lesson of life, never to quit, to face whatever is in front of you head on. Don't, if you have fear, fight through it. Use it in positive ways to motivate you, to strengthen you, to help you to be better. And that's exactly what our guys did. I hugged them all at the end. We got in the huddle. Before we even shook hands with the other team, I told them how proud of them that I was. And, you know, that helped them all, I think. And I talk to some of them still to this day. They have moved on with their lives. It's many years now, and they've done really, really well with scholarships in college and doing extremely well. But at the same time, it helped them. It helped me because I was in a really, really bad place. Right. And it taught me a lot about life. It taught me a lot about how to overcome fear. It taught me a lot about teaching, about learning, about listening. I learned to become a better communicator. I learned to become a better leader. You know, I was responsible for not only the children, but you're working with the parents and your leadership in the organization. You're representing a school. There are so many things that go into that. I took that very, very seriously. And so that helped prepare me for another shot later on in life at entrepreneurship, leadership, building a team, the ultimate team that I think that we have now. And so we'll get to that in a minute. But yes, that basketball was a huge part of my life. And that was, honestly, that was the real turning point. If I have to look back, that's when what changed it all. And then, you know, we go into my health experience. Should I go right into it?
Yeah.
We'll get right into it. So in February of 2015, I started the moving business in 2013 and a half or so. So for a year and a half, still with grave disease, still not treated correctly. I'm owner operator at the time, so I'm on the moves. I'm lifting and all of this, and I was getting rapid heartbeats throughout the time. And one day, it just went really fast. The heart rate was beating out of my chest. I sat down inside the truck. It wasn't really getting better. My wife was begging me, or my girlfriend at the time, was begging me that we needed to get checked. The hard-headed nature that I have, I wasn't really for that. Until one day I came home, we were on an upper floor condo. There were 12 or 13 steps. I walked just gently up those steps, and I got to the top of the steps, and it was literally like I sprinted for a mile straight. I couldn't catch my breath, heart palpitating like crazy. So the long and short of it is she said, "That's it. We're going now. Get in the car. Let's go." And
thank God she did.
My girlfriend's 5'2", about 110 pounds soaking wet. But at that moment, she was a large force, and I listened because I was scared at that point. And so we went to Beaumont Hospital in Troy. We walked in the front door. You go to that little seating area. Well, they didn't even get me to the seating area. They put me in a wheelchair right away. They hustled me down. Well, they gave me an EKG, and my blood pressure was in the 190s, and my resting heart rate was 153. They threw me in a wheelchair, and when I say threw me, is pretty close to throwing me. And this gal was like at the racetrack. And I'm telling you, to this day, I'm not making it up. She was zooming me down that hallway so fast it was like a movie. And you see the walls are going past you and all the writing on the walls. You see radiology, you see all the different departments, and then I see trauma. And I'm coherent. I'm not in my right mind totally, but I am coherent, and I can see it says trauma. And then all of a sudden, this nurse who's rolling me and 6 other professionals come towards me. They get me up out of the chair. They get me on the gurney. I have one on this arm. I have one on this arm. I have somebody else getting x-rays out, and then I see the paddles come out on the bed gurney that they put me on. And so now I'm really alert, like, what's going on? Well, sir, you Mr. Burkhardt, you have 153 resting heart rate, nearly 200 blood pressure. You could code at any moment. So we need to have this handy in case we need to shock you. So my girlfriend, Catherine, now my lovely wife, just is in tears. She's beside herself. We don't know what's going on. I mean, I am conscious. I know something's wrong, but I'm like, okay, this is just my heart's racing like it normally does. Well, it wasn't. I was entering full-blown thyroid storm. And if no one knows what thyroid storm is, generally when you enter it, you don't come out of it. So thyroid storm took place. They got me connected to all the medicine, all the monitors and everything. They were able to get my heart rate down. They were able to get me somewhat stabilized, but I was not out of the woods. They kept me for 2 or 3 days. They monitored me. I was very difficult in the hospital. I did not want to be there. watching my mom go through it, my dad go through it. I did not want to be there. And so they released me and after 3 days. And then I got home for about a day. My wife had been at my side for so long throughout all of this. She says, my girlfriend at the time, excuse me, she says, do you mind if I go to the gym, which was literally 3 blocks away? And I said, are you sure we should do this? I don't know. Yeah, just keep your phone near you and call me if you need anything. I got up to go to the restroom. My legs were jelly. I fell into the fan that I had. The fan tipped over. The whole top of it broke. And then just the metal part was standing there. I just missed impaling myself. I have only shorts on. I coiled down and I sprained my ankle, and I cannot move. So I basically butt scoot around the bed to get to the other nightstand where my phone is. My ankle's throbbing, my knee's throbbing because everything coiled, and something's terribly wrong. And I message her and I say, I need you to come home now. I think we need to go back to the hospital. She races home. We go into the hospital. They keep me for hours, right? And then they say we see a touch of pneumonia. So they think they can get it under control with medicine. They take me to my room. They finally get me in a room. And, this is apparently going to be recovery time. And we got me on the schedule to do the iodine that I had not done in the younger years.
Years ago.
Right. And so they have me on oxygen, just the standard through your nose oxygen. And, my wife's coming every night. She's a girlfriend again, excuse me, bringing me dinner every night. Well, this one particular night that she brings the dinner, I start to not be able to breathe correctly. And I say, honey, I cannot breathe. And she says, just rest, just slow down, No, I can't breathe. So she hits the emergency button. The nurse comes in, gives more of the cup kind to put over my face, puts it over my face. I say, I can't breathe. And then everything stopped. I wake up and I see lights in the ceiling, fluorescent lights in the ceiling. Don't know where I am. Don't know what happened. Don't know who's around me or what. I'm coming to. I'm groggy. And there's a man over my shoulder and says, I'm a respiratory therapist. You have a ventilator in your chest. And I need to have it in you for another 10 to 15 minutes as you come out of this. And then we're going to take it out. And I'm still trying to process what he just said. I think I couldn't really speak, obviously, because I had that in me. They gave me a piece of paper, and I say, how long or what day is it? And he said, 3 days.
Wow.
3 days you've been in this state. I looked over to my left now very slowly, and my girlfriend is sitting there, stands up as this is taking place. And I'm just like, whoa, it's a Twilight Zone type of moment. And I can't talk, and I write to her, and I say, I love you. I don't know what else I wrote. I could barely write. It was all scribbled, to be honest. And I go like this, and I touch my chest because I start to tear, and Catherine is tearing. And the man over my shoulder, Catherine says to the man, is he having a heart attack? Is he having a heart attack? And he says, no, I think he's saying he's thankful. And that is exactly, he was right. Obviously, that's what he does for a living. He's probably seen that. Yeah, probably seen that a few times. And so I was saying thank you for what I thought was saving my life. And so after that, you get the ventilator out, get up to the room, you start to rest, and you start to now understand the
gravity
enormity
of
and the gravity of everything that took place. I had a heart attack while I was under. I had the thyroid storm, as I mentioned. I had pneumonia. I had sepsis. And we needed to get my thyroid out.
So any one of those things separately could kill you.
Yes.
So you did really well.
Yes.
And just got everything.
And I'll get to that in a moment. So the thyroid has to come out, but it can no longer be removed with iodine because it will kill me. Mm-hmm. So I have two choices. I will die if it stays in. They tell me that. If you go on the bed and we do a surgery, you can die. But we're going to view that as a smart option with a very talented surgeon, and you want to live, right? You want a chance at living, right?
Right.
And I'm of my right mind. I'm fully coherent at this point in time. This is several days later after coming out, and I have to make a choice. He says, if we lose a lot of blood, we could have some problems. And so I say, Doc, do I have any other options whatsoever? You have none. Iodine's out. This is it. It's die or you take a chance at die. Schedule me in. I'm 44 years old. I love the woman at my side. I still have a lot to live for. My father passed away at 45. I'm 44, so of course it's all flashing through my mind. Am I going to make it at this time? And they tell me, honestly, you have a 50-50 chance. Basically 50-50, 60-40. But you're mostly a healthy guy, but your body's been through a lot. All of this at once. We are hesitant to put you on the table because you're not that strong.
You're not strong enough.
So we're going to let you go for a couple of days. We're going to monitor you very closely. Hopefully you can develop a little strength. We'll get you on the schedule right away, and we'll do this in 2 days. And so they did it in 2 days. I did lose a lot of blood. I was depleted basically to nothing. I think we'll have the pictures up here on the screen. You can see the before and after, and me in the bed here. And when I came home 3.5 weeks later, I lost, I don't know, 22 pounds in the hospital or something like that. Atrophy, couldn't move. But the surgery went successful. A thyroid is supposed to be about the size of a lady's fist. It was both of my fists, a man's fist. Not designed to be that big.
No.
And it was a 10-centimeter incision. They said it was the second largest that they had ever dealt with in the history, and this is a renowned surgeon that travels around the country to do these types. And I guess he, ironically enough, I saw my endocrinologist the morning of this filming, and he, again, years later now, says, you're one of my top success stories. And that doctor had a lot of guts, because a lot of doctors wouldn't even take that surgery, because if you're not one of the very best, you will lose the patient on the table. And here we are. This is 2023. This happened in 2016. My endocrinologist, who I have to follow through with for the rest of my life, that's just part of it, once a year, if not more, tells me that again. He's never forgotten it. It shocked his practice and his life. And he's telling me that again today, this morning. He says, you were this close. And it's just humbling. And when you have a second chance at life, and you think about your own mortality, and you've lost a lot of people in your life, including your mom and your dad and your sister, and you think, wow, I have an opportunity now that maybe most people wouldn't have. I have it, and boy, I'm going to make the best of it.
Well, you have a choice to make.
Yes.
And that probably started with surgery or no surgery.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you came out of it. And that's not even the end of it, right? So just because you come out of surgery doesn't mean there's, you're not magically better when you get out of the hospital, right? There's lots of hard work that has to go into it. I mean, being in a hospital bed for that long, whatever, we know my background is therapy. They say every day that you're in bed takes 3 or 4 days to gain that strength back. And so you had to continue that fight, right? And continue to push forward and get strong again, especially because, again, at that time, you were in the midst of starting the senior movers.
Yes.
So
I was.
That's not an easy job to get back to. Yeah.
I had no money, no credit. And I don't say this to a lot of people. I don't say it to anybody. Now I'm telling the world. I had no money, no credit. I was in debt. I didn't have any set staff at the time. I didn't even have a car. I had nothing. And I didn't have my health. And so you really start to question yourself. But I'll tell you this. I talked a little bit ago about not being accountable.
Yeah.
It was now time, if you are going to live any semblance of a life, if you're going to recover from this, you better get very, very serious, very, very clear with what you want, and you better not abuse this second chance that you had, because your mom didn't have it, your dad didn't have it, your sister didn't have it. You have an opportunity. Don't you dare not take the best opportunity to make the most out of this. And my life, I said it started to change earlier. My life since that day has changed forever. It has changed for the rest of my life. I am a completely different person. The way I think, my perspective, how I listen and communicate, how I love life. I love my job. I love my now wife. We'll talk about that in a moment. I love our team. I love helping people. I love family, friends, acquaintances, colleagues, partners. I just have a whole new perspective on life. I always had some talent. I always had some creativity. But I lacked focus. I lacked a plan. I lacked a strategy. Most of all, I lacked the ability to execute. Execute a plan and a vision. Each of those things happens to now be my greatest strengths. I got very clear, laser focused on exactly what I wanted and didn't want. And what I didn't want was to ever be like that again, how I was in the earlier years. I wanted to build a better life. I wanted to be a provider. It's how I was taught. I wanted to use talents that I was blessed with and that I had worked over the course of my life to obtain, but I knew I had more in me. I knew I had more to learn. I knew I had more to give. But if I didn't first take care of myself medically, physically, spiritually, emotionally, I could not possibly provide, teach, lead, do anything for anybody else. As we know, you must love yourself first before you can ever offer any form to anyone else. And so I got really, really serious about it. I got all the help that I need, medical and otherwise. I really buckled down, had a wonderful girlfriend at the time who supported me and stuck by me with nothing. Not that I have anything special now. I am a work in progress. I have a long way to go. I am not in any way some wealthy guy. I'm doing better than I was then, but not as
He has a car now.
Yes, I do. I have a car. I'm trying to do better than then and hopefully better tomorrow and next week than I did today and last week. That's my goal day to day. And I take each day as if it's my last. I live it for everything that it has to offer. And I try to live with a full heart. And I try to fill my heart every day. You guys around here make that so possible. It's an amazing, amazing life. Not many people can say they love what they do. What I do is not easy, but it is not like work because I love it. I eat it, I drink it, I sleep it, I love it. My wife is a big part of it behind the scenes with supporting me and my stresses and such. That is difficult to manage sometimes because I'm a go-getter. And I feel like I have time that I need to make up for. I lost a lot of time.
Yeah.
By some of my choice, some other people's choice, other life choice. Life happened, some of the cards that were dealt, but I didn't handle it right, and I missed out on some time.
Well, I like what, behind the scenes, you and I had talked a lot about this, and you had said we don't always get to choose what happens to us when we're young.
0% responsible for what happens to us as a youngster. We are 100% responsible for what happens to us as an adult.
And I think during those hard situations, whether that's health or that is grieving, you can let things continue to happen to you, or you can make a step forward and start being in control of the future. And I do think that's part of the reason why you wanted to share this story. While I think it's moving, it's we all like an underdog story. We all like to see someone work hard and have the happy ending. But there's something relatable about, everybody, well, most of us have lost somebody that's really important to us. Most of us have gone through times where we struggled to be able to pay bills. And I think it's important for you, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but based on the conversations that we've had, just to let people know to not give up.
Yes. It's so important that no matter what the odds are, no matter, you look around, you see people with missing limbs, you see people with certain handicaps that takes away their mind and it takes away some other parts of what they do. But as the great Jim Valvano once said, and I'll never forget it, the Jimmy V Foundation, you can take away, you cannot touch my mind, you cannot touch my heart, and you cannot touch my soul. You can take away the physical nature. But now it's about my legacy is not what I have or what I acquire. That's material stuff that comes and goes. It's honestly not important because anything that you obtain can be taken away in a moment. It takes many, many years to build something. It takes just a moment to make a mistake and lose it all. And so I'm more concerned with the way that I treat people along the way in the rest of my life. The example that I set, if this helps one person here today, that will make me very, very happy. And I think that it has a chance to do that. Because when you face adversity, and I'm no different, a lot of people have it, a lot of it, and it much, much worse, right? But I learned that obstacles, hurdles, fear, again, I think fear is the most dangerous weapon and disease in our world. It is hidden, it is invisible, and it can paralyze you and cripple you. It can put you to your knees and keep you there if you let it. But if you start to learn how to manage emotion, how to manage your own life and your own behavior to the extent that you can find some happiness, then you can anticipate. Life is still going to happen.
Life is, yeah.
Things are going to happen. There's curveballs that happen every day in my life. But I believe in some are more serious than others. Some are harder than others. Some are easier than others. Sometimes there's a bunch of small ones. A lot of times we say around here, sometimes they just don't stop and they're big. They seem to be just dozens, one after another after another. And so when you go through those life experiences, you learn how to better handle it. You remove the emotion, think with logic. And when you do that, you tend to make better decisions. You tend to respond and act better. You don't, mess up everything around you because you lose control of your mind and you go off, kind of the deep end, so to say. Mm-hmm. And so if there's one thing that I can really tell people out there is take each day one day at a time, have a plan, have a strategy on how to execute that plan. Be relentless in your execution to achieve what you want, because dreams are possible. No matter how far you get away from it, no matter how far you are down, no matter if your life flashes before your eyes, if you are humble, if you are willing to put in the work, if you're willing to put in the time, if you're willing to admit that you didn't have it all figured out. I thought I knew it all. I didn't like to listen. I figured my way was the only way. It was the best way. I had tunnel vision. I was a narrow thinker. I was a small thinker. I was in my own little box, in my own little world, and that's a really lonely place to live. And when you break out of that and you understand that there's a much bigger world out there and there's a lot more to learn, and it was very important to study human behavior, which I've done quite extensively. And so I understand myself better. And being able to understand myself better, I can understand those around me better. I can communicate better, which usually lends to a much better outcome and a more successful outcome. Whatever you desire your outcome to be, you generally have a greater chance of that happening with the right attitude, with the right mindset, and with an open mind.
What more is there to say?
I'm blessed. I'm very, very blessed. And so, and to that point, and I can never lose track of that, because a lot of women would have left me. And my girlfriend at the time, who endured a lot of this, and I gotta say this story, honey, I love you. This is another really unique story. It's a storybook. A lot of people have encouraged me to write a book. Maybe I will one day, but this is a digital version of that for now. Catherine Burkhardt, we got married on May 15th of 2021. We dated for 7 years at the time and finally pulled the trigger. She stuck by me through all the medical issues, through all the financial issues, through all the mental issues that I had, and was able to hold off and wait until I kind of got my footing back and was able to become a bit of a provider for myself and for her. But the story is really unique. We talk about it on our wedding video, and those that know us the best know the story. We met each other as 13-year-olds, 12, 13, 14-year-olds. She was best friend with my cousin, who I was very close with her and her brothers. I was at their house every single weekend of my life. We bowled on the same team. We were like brothers. And Catherine was always hanging around with my cousin Pauline. So we would go to football games, the high school football games and stuff. And for about a year or two, I knew her. And then, unfortunately, her mom passed away, ironically enough. She was 11 at the time. Catherine was 11. And they relocated to Livonia. So they were 40 minutes away. We lost touch for 28 years.
That's crazy.
Facebook. A lot of people don't like it. And it can be troublesome. But for certain things, it's really helpful.
Was it her who slid in the DMs, or was it you, Paul?
It was me that found her, and I friend requested her. She accepted within a matter of a couple of hours. Within a matter of a couple of hours from there, she unfriended me. We hadn't even talked. There were no DMs. I mean, I didn't even have a chance to say hello. And I only found that out about 2 or 3 months before our wedding, why she actually did that. It took a long time for her. Are you going to
tell us right now?
I will tell you. And so I said, "Oh, no, you didn't. You're not going to do that. I'm not going to go away that.
I've seen that you accepted.
I'm not going to go away that easy, right?" So I hit friend request again. She made me wait 2 months. 2 months until she finally responded. Of course, I had a million questions. Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
We know each other. We go back. Our families know each other. I don't understand. Oh, I don't know. It was just a bad time. This and that. Well, we got to chatting. We were DMing now. Then we moved up. We upgraded to the texting phase. We started texting. Then we started talking. And then I said, how about, we go for coffee? my team has a championship game this Sunday. It was around Thanksgiving or Christmas tournament. And she came to the championship game, and boy, did she see me in rare form. I'm a pretty
coaching, right?
I'm a type A personality, and I'm a very spirited individual, especially when it came to coaching. And that was all pre-thyroid, so I was even more hyper at the time. We went out for a date. We went out for a second date, and I'll be honest now, this is me now. She says, or after the first date, she says, "Do you think we'll be able to get together again?" I said, "I'll let you know." I did.
I swear you could. You
and I didn't do it on
way.
purpose. No, I didn't. I honestly didn't do it on purpose. My mind was someplace else. I still wasn't in a good frame of mind. I had just won the championship. I was all wound up. There was a little bit of discomfort because we had known each other. I wasn't quite sure why she, unfriended me and made me chase like that a little bit. And so I wasn't sure. But we ended up going on a second date, a third date, and as they say, the rest is history. Dating for 7.5 years. I proposed to her, leave it to me, to wait 47 years to get engaged for the first time now, folks. I have never been engaged and never married until this one time, and I do it in the middle of COVID. So I cannot go to really a nice restaurant. They were closed. Right. We couldn't travel. I couldn't really do anything. Everyone's got masks on. You can't go anywhere. And it's like I just ended up doing something simple in downtown Rochester. And I totally shocked her, got down on a knee right in the middle of, I think it was 3rd Street. And she said yes, thankfully. I love her with all of my heart. We got married, as I said, in May of 2021. We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary a couple of weeks ago. And or a month ago now, almost, 2 weeks ago. And one of the best decisions that I ever made. She's my rock. She's my best friend.
She's tough.
Yeah. Oh, she is tough. Yeah. She's tough. She's tough. I can't get too far out of whack. That old Paul that I used to be when I start to get out of whack. She keeps me straight, and especially for what I do and a lot of the stresses that I carry by choice. She's really taken a big part behind the scenes in that. Not a lot of people see her. You guys once in a while. But she's amazing, and I'm glad that we did that. I'm glad that we got married, very much so.
Well, I'm glad that you can still say that.
Yeah.
I think it is a very, very interesting story, and I think that, again, if anyone can take anything from it, it is just to continue to work hard. Don't get stagnant and get stuck where you are. Yeah. Because like you said, you can get through one thing and just as life is, something else comes up. So be mindful and don't be afraid to make lofty goals. Yeah. I mean, failure is a part of it, right? And no matter what we do, sometimes it just happens. And I just hope that someone would listen to this story and they would dig deep and push through and be able to overcome and taste a little bit of success, because
one of the things too, and I mentioned I had a couple of very important mentors, is mentorship is very, very important. I have what I call up close mentors and physical mentors that I can pick up the phone and call them right now. And then I have distance mentors, very popular figures in the world who I've studied their lives and I follow them very regularly. Some of them I've met personally, others I have on the docket to meet very soon, and I look forward to that. There's many, many more things available to us now than when I was 10. 15, 20, 25. We can teach ourselves anything. There's information, helpful. There's a lot of bad information, but there's helpful information as well that we can educate ourselves with, inform ourselves with. Mm-hmm. But the biggest part of it, doesn't matter what information is there. It doesn't even matter what somebody says to you. If you're not willing to listen and you're not willing to hear another perspective or another vision from somebody else who's maybe been through it, maybe been down your road. One of my very closest friends in life is 63 years old. He's 12, 13 years my elder. And I have some that are younger, to be honest with you. I have a 47-year-old friend that was at my wedding. Walter, I love you, buddy. He's a great inspiration to me. So I try to surround myself with people who I believe do it the right way and have had a similar journey, have a lot to offer. And so you are what you believe, you are what you think, you are who you surround yourself with. And the person that we have the conversation most with in our life is ourselves. And so if we can learn to have that conversation with ourselves in a very positive manner, then by natural extension, we're able to have a conversation with somebody else in an effective way. And if we're able to have conversation with others in an effective way, then we can build a nice platform in life and give ourselves a chance to have an enjoyable, fulfilling life.
Well, I love that you mentioned that, because sometimes when you look in the mirror or you're faced with an obstacle, you keep telling yourself, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. But it is important because, right, who else do you listen to,
Yeah.
right? Yourself. So if you can amp yourself up and say, I can do this. I'm going to push through one more day.
Yeah.
I can make it until tomorrow.
Yeah. And now with the senior companies, the senior movers, the senior network, the senior podcast show, other things we can't disclose that are on the burner, this was my last chance at entrepreneurship in my life. And there is no, I can't do this. And failure is not an option. Learning experiences are, but failure is not an option.
Right.
And I live with that every day. And we've been able to build something here with amazing people on our team, some 20 people, including yourself. I'm so very blessed to have the opportunity to just be around folks like you. You guys are true inspiration. You guys are at my side through all of this. And every day we help people. It's amounted now into the thousands. And we have big plans now with Florida already in existence, along with Michigan, where we are right now in our Troy studio. We have other big plans and other teammates that we have just hired that will be aboard soon. We're very excited about that. We have some really young, vibrant stars up and coming in the industry. And so very excited to serve many, many more thousands of people. And again, can't mention it, but there will be more of a format like this as we go in the future. And hopefully I can take some of those life experiences as well as some of the business side of the experiences and be able to get more information out there to folks that maybe they're 20, 25, and they maybe didn't have the same opportunities or somebody to hear. I didn't have somebody to hear as much. Now they do.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I can help somebody and mentor some people like so many great people mentored me.
I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, you can have great success in life, but like you said, all of that can be taken away. And so
Sure can.
the relationships that we make with people and the connections that we have are really what fills us up the most.
Yes.
And so I thank you, Paul, for sharing that story. And I know that you will continue to do good things and continue to help people, not just our team, but I look forward to being able to get some feedback and just see how, you know, your story has impacted others beyond
Yes.
our team.
I hope it's been a positive experience for folks, and it'll be available for quite some time for folks to go back to it. And I look forward to that as well. And I thank you for this opportunity and providing this platform. Without you being able to ask these questions and host, it wouldn't be so easy. So thank you, Corey.
Well, it's my pleasure. Again, I encourage our audience to visit the senior companies on YouTube. There's plenty of other videos. As Paul said, you know, this message is to just inspire people to keep on going. However, we offer many other educational topics through our partners in the Senior Network. If you have questions or you need information on real estate or legal and legacy planning, estate planning, we have lots of videos up there to watch. You can contact us. You can contact me at kl@theseniornetwork.com. Please reach out if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time on some other content through the senior companies.
Stay humble and stay true to yourself. Thanks all.